We're learning more tonight about a police officer killed when a gunman opened fire in a Pennsylvania hospital today. That officer previously worked here in Denver. 5 other people were also shot and injured, and the gunman was killed in a shootout with police. Authorities say an armed man entered the intensive care unit at UPMC Memorial Hospital in York, Pennsylvania, and took some staff members hostage. Officer Andrew Duarte of the Westboro Police Department was killed. A doctor, a nurse, and a custodian, along with 2 other officers, were also shot and injured. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. I'm Jennifer Meckles. Officer Duarte spent 5 years working for the Denver Police Department. Tonight, our Colton Chavez talked to a former coworker and a friend who says Duarte was really someone who made such an impact, and right away.
Yeah, Jenny, in Duarte's 5-year career with DPD, he was recognized for his intellect, admired for his dedication to the city of Denver, and for being an inspiration to his fellow officers.
We met each other after he came here to this facility, which is the Denver Police Department Traffic Operations.
Officer Andrew Duarte will always be remembered as an officer for the Denver DUI Enforcement Unit.
His call sign was 853, and this car is 6053, just coincidence, but this is car that he drove during the 3 years he was assigned to the DUI DRE unit.
Lieutenant Alan Ma worked with Duarte for 3 years before Duarte moved back to Pennsylvania to be closer to family.
Not the first time that I've received a phone call like this.
But the loss of a friend.
It will never be easy to know that one of your close colleagues and a friend is not here with you anymore.
Investigators say Officer Duarte was shot and killed while responding to a gunman who was holding people hostage at a hospital in York, Pennsylvania.
It is a great loss to me, and I lost a friend.
Lieutenant Ma says it's a friend lost, but not forgotten.
He was one of the most successful impaired driving enforcement officers in the history of Denver Police Department, the DUI DRE Enforcement Unit.
Ma says Duarte was the type of officer that others wanted to be like.
Andrew still holds the record in Colorado's Drug Recognition Expert Training Program with the academic achievement.
Who left a mark on everyone he worked with.
I'm simply honored to know that I have had the opportunity and the honor to work with such accomplished and a great lawman.
In a statement, the Denver Police Department said Duarte also received recognition from Mothers Against Drunk Driving for his efforts in keeping Denver's roads safe from impaired drivers. Colton Chavez, 9 News.
Colton, thank you. Officials say a snowboarder was killed in an avalanche in Grand County today. The sheriff's office says it happened just before 5 o'clock tonight in the Fingers area on Berthoud Pass, known to be a steep, rocky spot, easily accessible from the parking area of the summit of Berthoud Pass. The Colorado Avalanche Information Center says they will visit the site tomorrow and provide some updates in the coming days. The snowboarder has not been identified yet. It was a scary moment for passengers on an RTD bus in Aurora today. They ended up in a pond after a crash involving another car. This happened near East Colorado Avenue and South Dayton Street. Aurora police say the bus collided with the car just before 5 o'clock, and the impact pushed the bus into a small pond. Police say about 15 people were on the bus at that time. They were able to get out through the back of the bus. The bus driver went to the hospital for minor injuries. Nobody else got hurt. Police say it's not clear tonight what caused that crash and who is at fault. We had some big, beautiful blue skies over Colorado today. Another false spring. We almost hit 60 degrees. Such a welcome sight after all the snow we had this week. And here's the good news. We're expecting even nicer weather tomorrow, and wait until you see the full week forecast. I mean, my goodness, Corey.
Yeah, it's got a bunch of 60s in it for sure. Colorado's one of the few places I know that can go from 20 inches of snow to 20 inches of sunshine the next day. And that's what happened today. We had a lot of snow melt. Temperatures still relatively mild. 41 degrees here at the 9 News studios in downtown Mile High City. Let's take a look at that weather box score for today. 59 degrees officially, the high temperature at Denver International Airport today. It's a good 12 inches above the average, little ways away from that record set back in 1936. 21 degrees as a low today. Hit the average low spot on. We won't be quite as cold tomorrow morning, but close here into the 20s here across the Front Range and Eastern Plains. And here's a look at your Sunday here in Denver. Lots of sunshine once again, probably going to break that 60-degree mark. We've got the high temperature of 62. I'll have more details on that day and a bunch of other 60s coming our way. That's up in the forecast in just a few minutes.
Corey, thank you. Pediatricians say this is a really bad year for the flu, the worst they've seen in a decade. For some children, the flu doesn't stop just with fevers and coughs. A pediatrician in Castle Rock says he's seeing cases escalate to more serious complications, things like pneumonia and invasive strep. In just the past month, he guesses that he sent about 15 to 20 of his youngest patients to the hospital.
I think people underestimate how severe and dangerous influenza can be. It's difficult when your kids are sick and everyone has to miss work and everyone's out of school for a long period of time. And that can cause an enormous amount of household stress. There are things that we can do to mitigate that in the winter, and you should ask and seek help for it.
Doctors say there's several strains of the flu, and they say it's worth considering a vaccine even if you've already been sick because it could help with potential severity of future symptoms. Tonight, at least 11 people have died and dozens more are sick from a Listeria outbreak. It's linked to frozen supplemental shakes. On Friday, the FDA said the products were sold under the brand names Cisco Imperial and Lions Ready Care. They were distributed to places like hospitals and long-term care facilities across 21 states, including Colorado. These products have now been recalled. The CDC says this outbreak includes cases dating all the way back to 2018. The Vatican says Pope Francis is still in critical condition tonight. He had an asthma attack, but this came on the heels of him being hospitalized for more than a week already after coming down with pneumonia. The Vatican says he is alert, but he's in a lot of pain. He's also received blood transfusions. Doctors believe he will stay in the hospital for at least another week. President Trump today spoke at CPAC, the Conservative Political Action Conference, in a speech that included an announcement. Agents with U.S. Customs and Border Protection will now work out of the former headquarters of the USAID, which Trump also touted his administration's success in ending that agency.
And we've also effectively ended the left-wing scam known as USAID, the agency's name. Has been removed from its former building, and that space will now house agents from Customs and Border Patrol. Beautiful.
On Friday, a federal judge ruled in the administration's favor, saying USAID can be dismantled. Thousands of staff members will now be removed from their positions in both the U.S. and abroad. This also follows days of federal layoffs across the country, part of the Trump administration's efforts to slash the size of the federal government. They've been targeting probationary employees specifically, people who've been on the job for less than a year. For those who kept their jobs, a new email dropped this weekend with an ultimatum from Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency. On his platform X, Musk explained that federal employees now have to justify the work that they just did this past week, or they can resign. They gave employees a deadline of midnight on Monday. We've already heard from a few federal employees right here in Colorado who got that email. Again, this follows layoffs just throughout the last month, which includes Coloradans, people like CDC researchers, Forest Service employees, and more than 100 IRS employees in Denver laid off this week.
I'm exhausted, and it's offensive to tell me that I am a lazy federal worker. And I got news for you. The federal benefits aren't as great as you all think they are. We're not here living off of the American people tax dollar. We're trying to save it.
The IRS layoffs span various departments and job titles. We heard from folks who worked in the call center. We heard from revenue officers. The union that represents these folks tells us they are now weighing next steps and could pursue a lawsuit.